all your school rugby, all in one place. This is Next Gen 15.
Welcome back to the Next Gen 15 podcast. We've got a special one, Lions Special, Lions Cubs, we're calling it. You might have heard Will and I talking a couple of weeks back about the 2021 Lions Cub squad that I pulled together 4 years ago. We had a bit of a laugh over that, Will, but
we did.
We've decided to punish ourselves.
Now it's our turn to be the joke, and we're hoping to come up with something. I mean, we reflected on it today, Angus, and we said that there's probably about 2 or 3 in that squad of under 21s from 4 years ago that could potentially be in the squad this time around. If we get 2 or 3 out of this, I'd be very happy.
I'll be absolutely delighted if we get 2 or 3 out of this. I've brought props, by the way, just in case. I don't know if I'll be able to get this on screen, but this is an original.
Oh, wow.
1997 Lions. For those of you listening, 1997 Lions shirt, the one with the Scottish Providence sponsor, signed. Now, guess who this is signed by?
I assume the squad of that era. 3
names: Sir Ian McGeechan.
Yeah, he did all right lines-wise, yeah.
Martin Johnson.
Likewise, yeah.
And the star of the tour and the DVD, John Bentley.
Oh, my goodness. Well, there we go.
I need to get a valuation on that. That's a piece of memorabilia galore. Yeah. It's got a broken frame at the moment, though, hence it's so easily movable.
Well, I think our plan for this upcoming Lions tour should be we'll get a shirt, buy a shirt, and we'll get it signed by one of the 3 that we're about to list here. And then it'd be priceless.
Well, quite. Either that or absolutely worthless. Depending on how these picks go.
Depending on how these picks go, indeed. Right. I think the listeners have waited long enough with all this suspense. Where should we start?
Well, I was going to say, we've both picked a 15, haven't we? Or thereabout. In fact, we both tried to pick a 23, but...
I've picked about a 30.
Yeah, I've got a list of various names, and then I suddenly realised I'm not quite sure how old these people are. I guess what we should do is give the listeners a bit of a view as to exactly what the criteria was. It was fundamentally 3 criteria. You have to be British or Irish, although as we saw from the 2021 squad, that's not necessarily defining because Lewis Liner's off playing with Italy now.
Yeah.
But you have to currently be English or Irish, British or Irish, I should say. You can't be in school, so you must be over 18, and you have to be 21 or under, which I believe means something like a 31st of December 2003 cut-off date, but 21 and under we've gone with roughly, which should mean we get a very young squad with a few names that people will recognise, perhaps some that those that aren't age grade devotees may not recognise. And we'll get somewhere close to a Lions 23 out of it. So what do you reckon? Should we go position by position?
Yeah, let's go for that.
Where do you want to start? Forwards or backs?
I think let's start in the forwards.
All right.
Because and I think I'd like to start at loose head because I have slightly cheated. And
I think I might have done the same as you then.
Okay, I've gone for Asher Opoku for draw.
As have I.
And saying that I think he reverts back to loose head and we see the best of him. I think the amount of players that I looked up and were like, oh, he's 22 or he's 23. Honestly, I mean, Finn Baxter was, I think if we did this about 6-7 months ago, would be firmly in this, but not anymore. But still, I mean, I've heard some shouts that he should be put on this Lions tour.
I did see that kicking around a few months back.
But like, it seems as though he'd be a great option.
Yeah, and I also think I looked at it and I went, I actually can't believe that England will keep him on the tight head side anyway, because in doing even just this, I had 3 tight heads from England that I was considering, excluding Asher Opoku Forger. I had Afo for Sugbon, I had Billy Seller, and I had Ty Raymond.
Yeah, I had those
So,
three as well.
given that they're all in the same age group, why on earth England would keep a guy who can play both sides on the
Yeah.
side with all the competition when he could play loosehead? And I think he's of such a quality that no matter what side he's playing, the Lions are taking him in 4 years' time.
Hmm.
So I've gone with him at loosehead as well. I think he's the standout candidate.
Another name I did have written down, and again, I think this is more. I kept on batting between this being a team that plays now as like a Cubs team,
Mm,
or a team that we see in like 4 years' time actually playing for the senior Lions. And with that in mind, I had a look at Alex Ustinov because
same, yeah.
I think that he is already ahead of where kind of I think props are going to end up. We're getting more and more sort of dynamism and basically like a secondary number eight. And I think that Ustinov with his sort of mixed martial arts background kind of brings that, and he just really excites me. And I think in general, I don't know about you, I did find it quite hard to not just pick quite a lot of English
Yeah,
out
I
of
mean
this.
it's an understandable thing. In the same way that probably 2 3 years ago there would have been a lot of Irish in a
Yeah,
group like this. England are always going to have a lot of players when you just narrow it down to kind of one or two age groups because they just have a weight of numbers there. When they're then the standout team, much as
yeah,
Ireland were for a couple of years, a few years ago, they're always going to end up with lots of players because that's the way of it. I mean, you look at what
yeah,
this Lion squad is going to be. It's probably going to be stacked with Irish players at a senior level because Ireland have been the standout team. So I think that's only natural. And when you condense it down to a couple of year groups, it's always going to be the way.
yeah,
But I'm the same as you. I've got Ashraf Forger at loosehead and Alex Usinoff wearing 17 and
yeah,
coming on to wreak a bit of havoc.
yeah. Exactly. That's nice. Okay, so we're both for
That's
now
good.
we're both in
Early
agreement.
agreement. Early agreement.
Exactly.
Well,
Um.
what have you done at hooker?
I have gone with Kepu, because interestingly, as we record this, he's been named on the bench for Bath wearing 23,
Mm,
which for me, with two hookers already in the Bath squad. So I think he's going to be playing. I think he's going to be playing or coming off the bench in the back row
yeah.
for Bath this weekend, which could be a sign of things to come. But I, other than him, I struggled a little bit with Hooker. I'd be interested to see where your head was at.
Yeah, I mean, I went Kepu as well, although having been stung 4 years ago by selecting Alfie Barbary at
Alfie
hooker,
Barbary. It seems a very
and then
similar
him moving to the
situation.
back row. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's so similar. But no, I went Kepu as well because, I mean, no matter where Kepu ends up playing, I mean, if he's not on the tour in 4 years' time, I'll eat my hat.
yeah,
And if he, if we were picking, so whether we were picking it for 4 years' time or whether we were picking it that they're going out to play today, Kepu's playing either way.
yeah,
It's just a case of where. I've got him at hooker. The big one I considered was Gus McCarthy of Ireland, who
yeah,
just sneaks in the age barrier. Has an international cap already. Good player, but I think probably the Kepu ceiling's higher. So
yeah.
I've gone Kepu starting, and I've got Gus McCarthy on my bench.
Yeah, that's a really really good shout. Actually, Gus McCarthy. He's one of those that I actually didn't. I thought was older, which is a compliment to him. So I didn't. I thought he was about 22, 23. So I didn't even consider him. The other that I did consider, again, another Englishman, was Louis Gully,
Mm,
because he's just signed another deal with Exeter, and Exeter look like they're going to need another sort of Jack Yendall, Luke Cowan-Dickey, stalwart hooker, and I think they're kind of placing their bets on him. So I'd be excited to see kind of where he were to go, because I do think Exeter are going to find their way creeping back up. I think this season was a bit of a bogey
yeah.
season for them. I don't think it's a sign of things to come. So Louis Gully was in the mix for me, but Gus McCarthy and Kepu Tupelosi. I'd probably start Gus McCarthy and bring Kepu on.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
there's a fair argument for that, isn't there? I mean, he's Sorry, I'm just looking up a player that I'd forgotten about, and I'm just checking his age. But no, I think there's a fair shout for that. I mean, Gus McCarthy is. I mean, I'm picking hairs here, I suppose, but Gus McCarthy's probably a more traditional hooker, I suppose,
Yeah,
and Kepu's, just an all action superhero, basically.
yeah,
That's a quote that could get lined up, isn't it? There's another guy actually that I kind of considered, which was Alfie Longstaff, who every time
yes.
I've seen him play
Yorkshire
impresses me
lad. Yeah,
so much. I really like him, and ultimately, if we look at this as a sort of 38 player squad or whatever, as a third hooker, he definitely be an
I'd
option.
love to see him in. Yeah, I agree.
The other guy, so the man I've just been hastily looking up is Jerry Blythe Lafferty from Scotland, who just
Yes.
squeaks in, 21
Does
years
he?
old. So he's another one that could be an option. I mean, 4 years ago, I had a Scottish hooker in Ewan Ashman. He might have been English at the time, but he's he's squeaked through. But yeah, Jerry Blythe Lafferty could be a good one. But I think those two, Kepu and Gus McCarthy, are the standouts for me. I mean, what way round do you reckon?
Ye- I think McCarthy to start to Piloto on the bench. Just because of, and I'm not thinking that McCarthy's better than Tuipulotu. In fact, the opposite. I just think you'll get a better 20 minutes out of Kepu than you
Mm.
will out of Gus McCarthy. It's almost it's more of a compliment to Piloto in a weird way. But
Unless, of course, we go Kepu to start, 60-minute mark, Kepu moves from 2 to 7,
yeah,
and someone comes
that's
up.
very true. That's very true. Then maybe
Mind
that's the
you,
way
when we
we're
get to the
going.
back row options, we might realise that we
God,
don't want to
yeah,
be trying to
right,
shoehorn people in.
exactly.
All
Okay,
right,
your tight head. I'd like to hear this because as we kind of reeled off the list briefly of English sort of components, but I think there's a few others that could be knocking on the door as well.
yeah. Well, the brother of the man I just mentioned actually is
Yeah,
who
Ollie
I've got
Blythe
at tight head.
Lafferty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I've got.
I mean, first of all, I think he's a brilliant player. But second of all, I think Ollie Blythe Lafferty is going to end up being a sort of 50-60 cap Scotland international,
Mm.
in part because Scotland don't have a huge amount of tight heads. So very soon he might find himself being Zander Fagerson's number two. So he's probably going to find himself in pole position to be on Lions tours in the future, just by dint of the fact that he's a regular international player, which counts for a huge amount. But in terms of looking at this team, I just really like him. I think he's a fantastic
Mm.
player. I mean, I think he's better than that English trio? I think probably of the English trio, I think Billy Sellers probably the best.
Yeah, but again, it's just not been able to play much at the moment.
No, so I mean, what I've gone with is Ollie Blythe Lafferty starting at tight head with Billy Seller on the bench.
Yeah, I can see that. So I've got Blythe Lafferty, um, and then again, right. So this is the first of my crystal ball predictions. I think we're going to go with your Billy Sellers pick, but hear me out, okay? As I was going through this, I had a bit of a breakdown. Bear in mind, listeners, we had about 25 minutes to come up with this. So my mind, and now I'm regretting it. My mind went, I think Wales are gonna really come to the fore over the next sort of 4 or 5 years, and we're gonna have another great.
Have
As
you
you can
have
see
you
your face.
converted a back rower to the front row?
No, no, nothing like that. Nothing like that. I've gone with Sam Scott because
Yeah,
I
fair.
just I really like him.
Yeah,
And I think obviously Archie Griffin being 23 is probably not ideal for him because he's only 2 years below probably one of Wales's starting props now. Um, but it's part of mine. You'll see a running theme in this team that I think Wales are going to become equal
well,
with
Wales are the
Ireland.
coming force.
Wales are going to become equal with Ireland in terms of oh, look at that balloon celebration. I don't know how I did that. If
I've
you're watching
no
on
idea
video,
how you
if
managed
you're watching
that.
on video, my Zoom just went a bit funny. So yeah, Sam Scott, but I'd agree. So I'd start Blythe Lafferty and then have Billy Seller coming off the bench. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like Sam Scott as a shout though, and certainly, if we again we're just picking 23 here, but we might flesh it out. In fact, you know what? We should flesh it out once Farrell's picked his squad, and we'll match
match
we'll
it up.
match numbers with it.
Yeah, nice.
Because I suspect he's going to go slightly bigger than Warren Gatland's 38. So yeah, we'll match that up. But yeah, I mean, I think there would be a space for Scott in the squad. But yeah, oh, well, there we go. Look at that. First disagreed pick, and I've won the fight. That
You
worries
do.
me. Worries me
Yeah.
for later on.
Yeah, I'll let you have a tight head. And we'll go into the second row. I I do really, really like my second rows. I don't know. I think the idea of these two playing with each other is pretty exciting. I've gone for Alan Spicer and Olamide Shideki as my 4 and 5.
Interesting. Okay, here we start to diverge.
Okay, who have you gone for?
Um, Mine's got a real English bias to it.
Go on.
I've put Junior Kapoku into the second row,
Yeah,
partly because the second row is just, sorry, the back row is just so competitive.
yeah,
So I've got Junior playing on the loose head side, and I'm prepared to give this one up because I think he's flirting too much with the age barrier, if I'm honest. Which is I've got Finn Carnduff in there again, another back row
oh,
six playing in the second row. It became about shoehorning second rows in,
second row is in.
and there, well, back rows in, I suppose I should say. And actually, I mean, it's a real English bias I've got on this second row front because on the bench I've got Tom Burrow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean,
Uh,
the
on
competition is
on
rife.
on my bench, wearing 19, I've got Junior Poku because I see him as that 4-5-6,
Yeah,
and that kind of made sense to me. But I mean, between him and Olamide Shideki, like there's not too much difference because I think they're both equally as talented as each other. Both came through the same pathway. Both are kind of heralded to be the next sort of long-term solution to an England second row. The only reason I kind of chose Shideki over Kapoku is that Shideki's got Premiership appearances under his name
yeah.
and Kapoku doesn't. But then again, Kapoku's got top 14 appearances under his name. So
I
uh,
wonder here then if we also pick our back row and then
yeah, and
we
mix it
pick a
around.
we pick a back five and two bench players because I think we've got a couple of players in there that are sort of second row slash sixes. So let's
Yeah,
see where we're at on the back row and then kind of work it backwards from there. My back row, I really like my back row. Oh,
I
really like this back
don't
row.
mind my back row. Go on.
So I've got Morgan Morse at 6. I've
Okay.
got Freddie Douglas at 7, and
Yeah.
I've got Henry Pollock at 8, with Ina McCarthy of Ireland on the bench.
Yeah. So I've got the same players. Yeah. Actually, I've written I've written two. I've written five rather than four. I just realised that because I've basically got so Harry Bedell and Morgan Morse for me are interchangeable, really. I was just maybe it's a bit of recency bias, but Harry Bedell for me in that
Oh
Six
yeah, he's
Nations
brilliant.
was just brilliant. So I kind of had Douglas, Bedell, McCarthy, Pollock, and Morgan Morse. And 6, 7, 8, I'm not really too sure because they all kind of can play across all three.
Shall I tell you
Um,
what? Shall I tell you who I think has to be in? Well, I mean, let's just assume that Pollock has to be in because
where would you play Pollock? 8.
I think with what, well, I think because of the player that I actually think does need to be in, other than Pollock, I think Pollock
Yeah.
has to play 8 because I think Freddie Douglas has to be there.
Yes, I agree.
So Freddie Douglas, and he has to play 7 if he's playing.
Yeah,
So then I
yeah.
think Pollock kind of has to play 8, which does make me wonder if we put a Kapoku or someone at 6.
But then
But then we're losing some good players.
You're losing Morgan Morse. Right. Okay. So I do just want to quickly, because I think he's going to get cast aside, which I'm fine with. But I just want to sort of back up my Alan Spicer shout.
Absolutely. Well, tell us about him.
He's 6'10" and he's 19. I mean, come on. He's 6'10". He's 19. He's just like, I think, and especially
you can't coach 6'10", as they say.
You can't. And being Irish, you kind of I don't think any other nation creates sort of second row / back rows, that sort of 4, 5, 6 players better than the Irish. You look previously at like a Devon Toner, Donna O'Callaghan, that kind of like towering. Now it's Tyke Byrne, that kind of Henderson as well, Ian Henderson, a previous sort of like towering second rower that can come in at 6. Excellent line out operator. Joe McCarthy, James Ryan are the current ones as well. And I see him as a Lions player. I think the Lions for basically all of my lifetime has had a Irish second row. So I kind of see it in that sense. Again, it's probably one of those that if you were to play today, I don't think Spicer gets in because he's not got enough credit in the bank. But I just see in like in a similar way to the way that Joe McCarthy's kind of sprung onto the scene and just sort of now very much taken a place in the Irish squad, probably pushing for the Lions. I'd see him having a similar career path. But I'm happy for now to cast him aside and put him in a really, really, really big cupboard. And just sort of
I think what we can safely say is that all of these picks are in a wider squad.
Yes, of course,
without a shadow of a doubt. Right, what do we think? What red lines have you got in the second row?
Well, I haven't got any red lines in the second row, really. So I think your back row and having Junior Kapoku, Olamide Shideki, and Finn Cardiff wearing 4, 5, and 19 in some capacity kind of makes the most sense.
Yeah, right. Which way? So I think.
Go on.
I think we go with Shideki in the second row because he's a. I think it's a bit too imbalanced to have 2 lock / 6s in there. Whereas he's a proper lock.
Yeah.
So let's have him in.
Yeah.
And then God, it feels wrong not to have Kapoku, but Cardiff, he is a lion, you know. He's he to the extent that you could see him getting the captaincy sort of thing. I know we're debating whether he should play or not.
Yeah. So I like Kapoku wearing 19.
Yeah.
I think to save our blushes, right? We don't know what's going to happen with Kapoku. He could just stay in France.
He could do. Mind you, he'd still be eligible for the Lions, though.
Oh, well, I think that would be mental. If you've had I get like obviously you've got Farrell, Sinclair, those sort of situations.
Yeah, it's a slightly different kettle of fish.
If you've had a player that's never ever played a senior game of rugby for England go to the Lions, then you're having loads of different conversations. So I'd say look, let's put Cardiff and Shideki in the second row, and then your back row of Morse, Douglas, Pollock. And then I like Ina McCarthy on the bench wearing 20.
Yeah, right. Let me just. I'm sort of editing here as we go along. So bear with me as we. Well, I'll tell you what. In fact, Will, you can run us through the team so far. What have we got?
Okay, yeah. So the team so far, we've got Asher Opoku for Jaw wearing 1, Kepitu. No, well, we've gone Gus McCarthy. Right, let's put Kepitu Piloto at 2. I've made that decision now.
We lasted
Here we
all of about 5 minutes without.
Here we go. Ollie Blythe Lafferty at tight head. Then second row of Olamide Shadeki and Finn Cardiff, with a back row of Morgan Morse, Freddie Douglas, and Henry Pollock.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's
So it's a very dynamic team. That
yeah,
I'd be a little bit worried about our line out, but it's a very dynamic team.
Yeah, and we're playing in Australia, so I like the fact that it's a sort of that dynamism. Yeah, if we were going down to South Africa, I might think we need a bit more of a heavyweight pack.
Well, yeah, don't think Finn Cardiff would necessarily be included if we're going to South Africa, for example.
Yeah,
I think Spicer's back in the mix if we're going to South Africa. I'm Team Spicer, right? Okay. That's a good forward pack.
Yeah, that's a good pack. Now I struggled more in the backs actually. It might have been because I did the forwards first, so I was under more time pressure.
I really struggled. I think I've got I've got 2, maybe 3 that I'm happy with.
Yeah, I'm very movable on. To be honest, I'm very movable on everyone in my backline.
Yeah, same. Okay, right. Should we see if we have any of the same? Because I think we probably will.
I'm sure we will.
My 9 is Archie McParland.
Yeah, I went the same way.
Cool.
I actually felt that 9 didn't have a huge amount of options.
No, I don't think 10 really does either.
No, it's a bit of an odd one. I mean, it's quirk of the way these things work, isn't it? Where some years there's lots of players in certain positions, and other years there isn't. But it did feel as though the half-backs were a bit short.
Yeah. I think the other options at 9, well, potentially Lucas Friday. But obviously it's difficult when you see a player have an ACL injury because you just don't know where he might end up on the other side of that. I
mean, I'm looking through and just seeing who even popped up for me as options. I mean, I was threadbare at 9. Junior, not Junior. What am I on about? It's because I'm thinking that he's the younger Friday. That's why Junior. Lucas Friday probably was my bench 9, but again, it wasn't really. Didn't feel great about it. Well, not that there's any slight on Lucas Friday. More that I didn't really like the fact that I was picking 2 England under 20 scrum halves from the same year group. It felt a bit
that play relatively similar rugby. If we were to break the rules. I do think when I think of like one of the younger English 9s that feels test match kind of ready, not ready, but like test match suited is Asa Stewart-Harris, because of the fact he can kick off both feet.
Yeah,
and like he just reminds me of a really, really controlled 9, which I just don't think is available across all of the home nation. Obviously, he's still at school. So
well, there was another Saracen scrum half actually that came to mind. He just made the cut by a couple of weeks. Luckily, I looked up his date of birth in time. Charlie Bracken, yeah.
I think like you look at I reflect it onto what's their club looking like at the moment. Where are they going to be able to get a lot of game time? Like you look back previously, you look at that 2021 squad you did. There are a lot of names in there that at the time we thought just on paper were going to look really great. And you look at circumstantial, Hayden Hyde, for example, at Quins. Did we expect Lennox and Yenwa and Oscar Beard to lock down those centre partnerships so quickly? Probably not. So like I'm looking ahead, and you look at the Saracen scrum halves. They've got Evan Van Zale, who's sort of 32, 31. They've got Gareth Simpson, who's of a similar age. So it looks like Bracken and Stuart Harris are going to have a good run at it,
aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the only other thing I feel like I'm missing someone. There's got to be someone from Wales. Wales always have scrum halves, but if you think about that 2021 squad, The three scrum halves with Jamie Doby, Jack Van Portvliet, and Rafi Quirk. I mean, that's an extraordinary crop to
Yeah,
be coming through at that point in time.
all of which are now capped internationally. Jamie Doby's always in and around the Scotland squad.
Yeah.
He seems to be have really found a space in that 9 wing position that Gregory Townsend likes. He'll have the 6-2 split. Van Portfleet has been unlucky with injuries and bits and pieces. Well, not as unlucky as Rafi Quirk probably, but 2 England cap players.
Yeah.
I just don't think we've got that kind of quality across the board across all the different nations at the moment.
No, I think it's a bit of a thin position, which I guess does leave us. Do you know who might just sneak in? Let me just have a little look at his data. Two ideas for you.
Okay.
Ian Davis and Harry Wild of
Yes.
Wales.
I think Ian Davis does.
I think he must do, mustn't he? And if he does, I'm just going to look up his date of birth.
He should be about 20.
Ian Davis, 20-year-old, yeah. Do you know what? I'd have him on the bench.
Yeah, I like that.
Really different type of player, lot of zip, lot of energy.
Yeah, good.
So
I like
we'll
McParland and Ian Davis. Good. Yeah, nice.
Nice. All right. If this is the way the backline's progressing, we may need to allocate another hour for this entire thing.
Yeah, goodness me. Right, okay.
Fly half.
I want to hear yours because I'm really not happy with my pick.
Well, I've gone Ollie Davis.
My pick doesn't. Okay, yeah. I thought about Ollie Davis, but I was like, maybe this is not how you pick a Lions squad. But I was like, I'm just starting to pick the England under 19/under 20s backline. So I mean, I had Dan Green in there, but I think he'd be a great sort of 22. Like as in wearing the 22 shirt, because obviously he's played a lot of fullback.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I like it as a 10.
Another option that kind of cropped up, it surprised me actually on his age, though it shouldn't do, I suppose, because it was one of the more spoken things about him over the course of the Six Nations, was Dan Edwards.
Yeah.
Wales fly off, 2 caps, 21. I mean, he turns 20.
Yeah.
He turns 22 in a week. So
Okay. We've got to play the game now.
He's right on the cutoff, but yeah, it was a slightly thin position, I thought.
Yeah. I'd give it to Ollie Davis though. Yeah.
Yeah, Ollie Davis, Dan Green on the bench.
Yeah, happy with that.
Yeah,
because I love my left wing. I think my left wing, I'm really happy with it, and again links into my Wales resurgence.
I think I know who you're going to have gone for then.
I've gone with Nottingham's finest, Ellis Mee.
Have you? Interesting. I've gone for Gloucester's newest signing,
Ben Redshaw.
Ben Redshaw on the left wing.
He's at fullback for me.
Ah, fair enough then. Okay, interesting. Well, let's do the fullback 3 then. I think that's going to be the way.
Yes,
the way to do this one.
I've got Charlie Maloney on the right wing and Ben Redshaw at fullback.
Okay, well, I've got similar to that. I've got Charlie Maloney at fullback. And actually, for me, he's a guy who, wherever we pick him, he's got to be in the team.
Yeah.
I've got him at fullback. I've got Ben Redshaw on the left wing, and I've got Angus Hall on the right wing.
I've got Angus Hall at outside centre. We're just chasing each other around.
Okay, right, interesting. Okay. Well, I actually also have a centre/wing in my centres. I've got Ireland's Hugh Gavin at 13.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. He's not in my 23.
Okay, well, he's out then.
Well, I don't think it's that brutal, but
well, actually, who else have I got kicking around? Well, we're gonna have to just do the whole lot. There's only one player left to go. So then I've got Stefan Emmanuel from Wales at 12.
Yeah. I thought about Harry Ackerman if he didn't stop getting injured. I think obviously he's got broken leg at the moment. But basically it's just been like starting or playing in URC games and then just getting injured. Then as a feature for the under-20s, got injured. Like he was just a name that I wanted to pop out there.
Yeah.
Okay, should we sort out this back three first?
Well, I guess we've got
two out of three.
Two of three. I'm going to argue that I'm right and that Charlie Maloney should be at fullback with Redshaw on a wing rather than Redshaw on a wing and Maloney at fullback. Because I think Maloney is more of a kicking option.
Yeah, but then you look at who's going on the Lions tour this time around. It's probably going to be one of the better kicking options of their back line in James Lowe.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And I saw Charlie Maloney as my Tommy Freeman. Like a kind of larger, skillful sort of right winger that can catch those high balls and score those crossfield kicks. Like that's my envisionment of where I see Charlie Maloney, and then Redshaw at 15 because I think that's where he's going to play for Gloucester. So I think that's where he's going to get a lot of minutes, and I also think that's where the space is in the England backline for him. I think like I can't believe it, but only just not really just missing out. I had to double check how old he was. Manny Faye-Weboso was
he's only 22, isn't he?
Was actually quite close to getting into this team.
Yeah,
a couple months out, which is mental to think about.
I'll tell you, I genuinely actually did the same thing. I went and looked up his age. I knew he was too old, but I knew it wasn't going to be by much. And you're right, it was a couple of weeks. A couple of Welsh players that could be in consideration alongside
Tom Bowen.
Yeah,
he's
Tom Bowen.
20. He's my 23.
Yeah, he's a nice player to come on. He's a very nice player to come on.
How old's Blair Murray? Is he too old?
Blair Murray's just too old. Another player I just wanted to give a shout out to. He's probably not gonna squeeze in here, but the Scotland 20s captain Johnny Ventusai. Nice tidy player at 13. Who else was kicking around my thoughts? Ollie Spencer from England. I tell you, here's a couple of guys who, surprisingly enough, make the cut. I think probably given the options we've got, we should err on the side of a bit of youth. But Tobias Elliott, qualifies, and Joe Woodward up at Leicester Tigers also qualifies.
Oh, I really like Joe Woodward. I think Joe Woodward at 12. Oh, but then Stefan Emmanuel. Do
you know who we didn't mention actually in the Loosehead chat? Stefan's brother.
Oh, yeah.
Good player. And actually, given the shortage of loose heads, well, not given the shortage, just given that he's good.
Again, I think
I'd take him as my third. I think
he'd 100% be my third.
Yeah,
he'd be my third. That'd be really nice. I think that's a really nice combination of loose heads. How are we talking about loose heads?
Because I can't face trying to narrow down this back five. Okay, so Maloney and Redshaw in some combination. Emmanuel's locked in at 12, so then it's a choice of who was your you were 13 was Angus Hall, and my 14 is Angus Hall, which I guess means that Angus Hall is in one way or the other. It's just a case of where.
It's your 13.
So it's Hugh Gavin of Ireland
versus Ellis Me of Wales.
I guess Caps win, don't they? Caps win.
Who's got the Caps?
Without being rude, though, how much do Caps for Wales count versus 20s Caps for Ireland at the moment? You know.
Well, they've won pretty much the same amount of games. We can all beat Scotland under 20s.
It's very true.
Come on,
very true.
I think that's so right. I didn't mean that Scotland under 20s.
So wait, so what? The only thing I'm thinking. What have we got on the bench?
I think Ellis Me's brilliant, and I love Ellis Me, and I think to have scored in inverted commas in the way he did against Ireland.
Yeah.
To me was like a test of like, right, okay, you're pretty happy. He's kind of had it's not in terms of quality, but he's had a very similar rise to Henry Pollard. In that it's just been 6 months of sort of going from you're playing champ rugby to you're playing international rugby. Been the same sort of rise.
Oh, it's been
So
incredible.
and the fact that he's not folded at any level, going from uni to champ to URC to Wales, and he's played like it feels like he's playing the same game, which to me is a sign of a really strong player.
Yeah, no, you've swayed me. All right, so
Get in.
which means that since I've given you that, Maloney's a fullback.
All right, that's fine. But then if Maloney's at fullback, so we're having a Maloney at fullback. If Ellis Mee's in the team, you've only got then one wing space. So Redshaw goes on the right wing.
Yeah, he probably would, wouldn't he? Because Me wants to play on the left, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Redshaw can do anything.
I mean,
Redshaw might even be our backup 10 here because I'm now thinking about 23 and how we deal with that, and we might have to have two outside backs at 22 and 23, and Dan Green might have to take a rest.
Yeah, I don't think Dan Green makes it into this 23, unfortunately.
I think we do need proper 10 cover though. Is my only thought here.
Again, frustratingly, I think if we did this in a couple months' time, probably James Lineker would be on that.
I think at that point it kind of becomes easy. Well, let's pin down this back line there. So we've got Archie McParland at 9, Ollie Davis at 10, Stefan Emmanuel 12, Angus Hall 13, and then what direction?
Ellis Mee at the left wing,
11,
Ben Redshaw
14, Charlie
Maloney 15.
So then 22 and 23.
Who have we got left?
So we've got Dan Green, we've got penciled in at 22.
Yeah.
I actually have Max Page, who was phenomenal in the under-20s World Championships for Wales back in June.
Yeah.
But I prefer Tom Bowen, who you've got.
Yeah.
However, we have just chopped Hugh Gavin from the team, and now we're leaving him out of the 23 altogether. But
rugby stuff.
I mean,
I'm having too much fun with it.
The thing we've got here is Angus Hall can basically cover 11 through to 15.
I think he could even cover 10.
Yeah, Ben Redshaw can do the same thing.
Yeah. And then again, yeah.
So what I think we need is 10 cover and then just whoever we want. I don't think we need to worry too much about positions. Even Ollie Davis, if someone went down, can go and slot in at 13, or 15, where he's been playing for Sale. So we've got enough cover in that back line to do whatever we want.
But then it's proof. Like, unfortunately, just there isn't the depth at 10 as there is to any other position. Hence why we're in this situation.
Yeah.
So
another option for you at 10. I mean, it's another Englishman, unfortunately, but Ben Cohen.
Yeah, again, he flashed across. It was weirdly one of the first people I thought about, but then didn't include him at all. I don't see him as a. I don't see him in the mix here, and I don't know what it is.
No, I think I'm where you are with that. I think he's a very good player, but
I think he's a brilliant player, but he's just not going to be one of those that probably translates into international rugby, unfortunately. I'll
tell you, I'm very happy with Tom Bowen wearing 23. I love Tom Bowen. Tom Bowen when he was at Clifton College was my favourite player on the school circuit, which I can say now because he's not on it anymore. I loved him, absolutely loved him.
He was so much fun,
just brilliant. So I'm more than happy to have him wearing 23. My only question is, are we missing someone that we should have wearing 22? But I can't think of anyone. Yeah, if we were doing this in, as you say, in a few weeks' time, you'd have James Lineker, you've got, his name escapes me now, but Clondoveri College's fly half, he's been tearing up for the Wales 18s, but again, wrong age.
Is it Erasmus? Owen Erasmus?
No.
No,
I
not
mean,
him.
Owen Erasmus he played Wales 19s the other week, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I don't think Erasmus is in this team.
No. I was trying to remember the Llandovery College player and then ended up with the wrong Wales 10.
I don't think Scotland have got a 10 that I'm after.
What about is it Winchevsky? The Irish fly half.
Oh, yeah, you could be right.
Is that his name? I can't remember his name.
Just pulling him up now. Sam Wisniewski.
Wisniewski.
Wisniewski. Harry Wild from Wales as well.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
How old is Harry Wild? Researching this on the hoof.
Yeah, this is probably not great sort of listening now.
19 Harry Wild.
Okay.
Sam Wisniewski of Ireland. Scotland had Matthew Irwin at fly half. England.
Wait, are we still does Dan have we forgotten about Dan Edwards?
Oh yeah. Well, we can.
I think Dan Edwards wears 22.
Yeah, I mean, as we said with Ellis Me, Caps Trump.
Caps Trump. I think
that's an all Welsh backline on the bench.
I tell you what, there must be some people screaming at their phones right now, going, "You've just spoken about Dan Edwards. Why are you going through? Why are you going through every other possible option?"
There are two other players that I just want to talk about. I don't think either of them would necessarily make this. Go on. This squad, but Josh Bellamy, 10/15 is a lovely kind of bench player for a scenario like this.
Yeah, I think he's going to be what could have been sort of situation, but yeah.
And the other guy, we spoke about him on the pod a week or so ago, playing for England under 19s at fullback, Connor Byrne, who can quite literally play 10 out.
Anyway.
I think he's got age grade caps at 10, 12, 11, 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
So he would be a nice option as well.
Again, I think like Connor Byrne would be a dream tourist.
Yeah.
Would just be perfect to have in the squad. You imagine it, and like if you play 5 midweek games, you'd imagine him playing in all 5 different positions.
Oh, and easily,
and he'd absolutely soar through that.
Connor, we've got an injury at Loosehead. Can you fill in? Yeah, no worries. No worries.
So yeah, I do think probably when Andy Farrell names his Lions squad, we can delve deeper into these sort of players. But I think now I'm going to run through what I think our 15 is, and you tell me if it's wrong. As to what you've got down. Charlie Maloney at fullback, Ben Redshaw on the right wing, Angus Hall at 13, Stefan Emmanuel at 12, Ellis Me on the left wing, Ollie Davis at 10, then Arch McParland at 9, Ashra Poku for draw at loose head, Kepu Tupulotu at hooker, Ollie Bright Lafferty at tight head, Olamide Shadeki and Finn Cardiff in the second row. And then we had, who was the 6?
Morgan Morse. I've got
Morgan Morse. Sorry, I've got about 50 names written next to the word 6. Morgan Morse, Freddie Douglas, Henry Pollock. Wow.
Yep, that's the starting team. And the bench, Gus McCarthy, Alex Usanoff, Billy Seller, Junior Kapoku, Ina McCarthy, Ian Davis, Dan Edwards, Tom Bowen. And do you know what? That's a well-balanced nationality makeup as well, without even really...
Actually, quite a lot of Welsh.
Yeah, I was really worried that we were going to end up with a very English-looking team, but we've got...
Yeah.
I mean, there are more English players than there are others, but that's not that surprising. But what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 English in the starting team, 2 on the bench. We've got 2 Scots starting.
4 Irish, I think, out of the 23.
Yeah, 4 Irish in the 23, two Scots in the 23, both of them starting. We've got three Welshmen in the starting team and another three on the bench. That's a pretty balanced side, actually, I'd say,
Yeah,
and probably fairly reflective of where all of the teams are over the course of the past couple of years in terms of
yeah,
their sort of standings.
yeah.
Only one Irishman in the starting team. I suspect we may see something slightly different with the senior setup in the Lions this summer.
Potentially, yeah.
Just a little bit. Okay, well before we wrap up, we said the target out of this was three players that will go on the next Lions tour.
Go on the next one.
The
So
next one.
to New Zealand.
Yeah. So we've got our 23 there. Who are your three that are definitely going in 4 years' time?
Henry Pollock, Asher Opoku for Jaw, and Charlie Maloney.
That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. I really want to make the case for Freddie Douglas, but there are so many back row that it feels
feel as though, yeah,
absolutely mad to try and select
I'm
more back
looking at
rowers.
where the gaps are in the Lions senior squad now and where they could be filled in 4 years' time.
Yeah,
I think Pollock, if he's on the fringes now, he absolutely will be by in 4 years' time. I think loose heads and tight heads positions that, like, I think especially on the tight head, the Lions look relatively weak. Not that weak, but relatively weak.
yeah. There's not a lot of depth.
You got like Furlong, Finley Bealham, and Will Stewart. Those are probably the three going, all of which are 29 plus.
Oh, you're doing Xander Ferguson a big disservice. Scotland's finest.
Good point.
But yeah, there's not a huge amount of depth.
All in their peak. So in 4 years' time, they're not going to be at it. And then Charlie Maloney, I can never say his name properly. Charlie Maloney. But
you got to do it with the accent, probably. No, I agree with you on here. He's a fantastic player. He's any time I've ever watched him, he's impressed me. He's just brilliant. The one player I think who could step out from this pack actually a little bit, or from this back line, I suppose, is Stefan Emmanuel. Because I don't think, I mean, in part it's this opportunities thing. I don't think Wales have anything like a sort of settled centre partnership.
Nothing
They
close
also
to it.
don't really seem to know who the next cab off the rank is to even start building a centre partnership. So if he starts getting some first team minutes at club level, you could see him getting international rugby relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And then once you're in the mix in international rugby, you've kind of got a 1 in 4 chance of going on the tour anyway.
Yeah.
And he's a very good player. And
Yeah.
12 is a position again where there's not a lot of standouts. You kind of look at it. I mean, if you look at England don't really have a 12
No.
really.
No, they
They've
don't.
got a lot of 13s and they kind of shoehorn 12s in. Ireland centres are probably starting to move beyond the age barrier. Bundyaki, he's not going to last much longer than this Lions tour. Robbie
Neither
Henshaw's
Henshaw.
a lot
Yeah.
older than he looks. Gary Ringrose is an out-and-out 13, and then you've got kind of guys like Osborne and stuff who seem to be getting a lot more game time out in the outside backs.
Yeah.
Scotland have got Tuipulotu, who's a brilliant player, Stafford McDowell, Cameron Redpath, but again, they're all that age grade up. So I think there's probably space for a 12 coming through, and
I agree.
Stefan Emmanuel could be that man.
Could be the man. Right. Wow. Whoa. Wow.
I think I'm quite happy with that.
Were you happy with the one in 2021?
Yeah, I was delighted with it, and then having looked back, I'm less delighted.
One of them doesn't even play rugby anymore. So yeah, there we are. I think it shows it's all a bit of fun, and but I equally feel confident with this one. I feel as though rugby has shifted in the last 4 years, that it's becoming easier and easier to spot these players from earlier on in their careers because they're given the opportunities early on. How many of these players have got top professional appearances? Pretty much all of them have played in either the Premiership or the URC. A few of them have got international caps. Like we've got a internationally capped by half on the bench. So there
Can't
we
argue
go.
with that, can we? I
No,
wonder. I wonder. Have we got an Ollie Davis bias on it? I'm not that I'm suggesting changing the team, but if Ollie Davis was available to Wales for selection, would they be picking him in their 23 for a Test match this weekend?
no. But would they be picking Dan Edwards?
Well, they have picked Dan Edwards, I suppose.
True. But yeah, they've yeah. This is the same side that we're picking Ben Thomas at 10. So look, we don't know.
Scathing.
I, I I I have been a bit brutal today, haven't I? Um,
It's Friday afternoon as we record this.
Yeah. I do think that yeah, there's probably a bit of Ollie Davis bias on this podcast, but when he proves us all right and goes to New Zealand, we'll be the ones hopefully getting some free tickets from the Davis family.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I want. Plus, I've got a Scottish bias, and yet we've only got 2 Scots in the starting team, although we've got Henry Pollock in there as well. So, three Scots,
Well,
3 Scots really.
2.5.
And Finn Carnduff, if he's not got some Scots in him,
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
eat my hat. Archie McParland likewise, and Angus Hall.
Angus Hall does. Yeah, right. Okay. So you've built a secret agent kind of Scottish team. I thought you were being down the middle, but no, you've just picked those for Scottish heritage.
Just a load of sleepers. Yeah.
On that note, here we
Right.
go. What a
Good
team.
stuff. Well, listen, let us know if you disagree, agree,
Probably
have some
do.
ideas that we've completely forgotten about. You've taken more than the half an hour to put this together that we have. So let us know your thoughts on this team, and let us know who you'd have in it, who you'd have out. And you never know, if we like your ideas, we might take them on board and draw a whole new one together. But what we will do, Will, is after Andy Farrell has named his squad on the 8th of May, we will see
Correct.
how many players are in
Yeah.
that squad, and we will pick an equal number of players in our wider squad. But we've got a 23 to get going with, and it is Asher Opoku Forjur, Kepu Tuipulotu, Ollie Blythe-Lafferty, Finn Carnduff, Olamide Shodeke, Morgan Morse, Freddie Douglas, Henry Pollock, Archie McParland, Ollie Davis, Ellis Mee, Stefan Emmanuel, Angus Hall, Ben Redshaw, and Charlie Maloney starting, and on the bench, Gus McCarthy, Alex Usanoff, Billy Seller, Junior Kapoku, Ina McCarthy, Ian Davis, Dan Edwards, and Tom Bowen. And I like that team.
Likewise. We've done well.
We have indeed. Top stuff. Thank you for listening, everyone. You know where to catch us. You know where to see us on social media. Go and find it all and give us your opinions on all of this.